And I'm not giving up, I'm not giving up, no, not me. Even if nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up on me.
Hey everyone, are you rad for Christ? Are you fired up for Jesus? Welcome back to another episode of Radical Christianity, the show that highlights God in action. I'm your host, Drew, and it is such a blessing to have you join us here today. So, I want to bring to your attention a situation that highlights the delicate balance between freedom of expression and religious conviction. Poor Jack Phillips, the cake artist, finds himself once again in a legal bake-off. What do you call a legal battle over a cake? A lawsuit with layers. Remember back in 2018 when Jack turned down a same-sex wedding cake order? It was like a cake batter showdown. Now he's back in the oven facing a fresh challenge, a cake celebrating a gender transition. I mean, he's a cake artist, not a magician. He can't turn flour into fairy dust. Jack believes every cake he crafts is a work of art, not just a sugar rush. It's like Picasso with pastry bags. And who could blame him? After all, a cake is more than just flour and sugar. It's a canvas of creativity. Now, Autumn Scardina, an attorney, is cooking up an obvious attempt to exploit the high-profile situation. First, she wanted a cake to celebrate her gender transition. That's like asking a potter to sculpt with spaghetti. Then came the request for a cake depicting Satan smoking marijuana. I mean, talk about a recipe for controversy, right? Seriously, a cake depicting Satan smoking marijuana? She must have thought it was a different kind of bake-off. Jack politely declined. I mean, who wants to make a cake with such poor taste? The Colorado Supreme Court has announced it will hear his case, and he's represented by the Alliance Defending Freedom, a group advocating for the protection of religious freedoms. As Christians, we understand the importance of expressing our faith in all aspects of our lives, including our work. This is not about discrimination, but about upholding our beliefs. This case also highlights the broader issue of free speech. ADF Senior Counsel Jake Warner emphasizes that the government should not compel artists to express messages that go against their conscience. This principle of free speech is something that benefits us all, regardless of our beliefs. It's worth noting that Jack Phillips has made it clear that he is willing to serve all people. His decision to whether or not create custom cakes is based on the message being conveyed, not the person making the request. This is a crucial distinction to understand. Why did the cake artist refuse to make the gender transition cake? Because he didn't want to stir up trouble. I know. Let's not forget that this isn't about cake. It's about freedom of expression, and that's a batter worth fighting for. So here we are, awaiting the Colorado Supreme Court showdown, a legal duel with all the tension of a high-stakes bake-off. Let's all pray that this situation is blessed with wisdom, humor, and maybe a sprinkle of powdered sugar for good measure. And who knows? Perhaps in the end, they'll find that the real icing on the cake is a solution that respects everyone's rights and convictions. After all, it's not every day you get a lawsuit served with a side of cake. All right, everyone, that's it for now. We got some great guests coming up, so tell me, are you rad for Christ? Are you fired up for Jesus? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a special show for you. We actually got something unusual. We took the opportunity to go down to Clovis Hills Church, where they were having the California Southern Baptist Convention Conference. And there is a whole bunch of great pastors there, so we got to sit down with a few of them and get some interviews in. And I can't wait for you to hear what these guys have to share. So, let's get the ball rolling, shall we? Jacob, welcome to Radical Christianity. So I know nothing about you. You got recommended to me, and that's a fantastic thing because the recommendation comes from a great source.
Yeah.
So the way that we normally do things here is we talk about your testimony and then how that led into your ministry. So
Okay.
please let me know how you met Jesus.
Yeah, so I grew up in a broken home. My dad was an alcoholic and he was addicted to medication, and so that my mom and dad split up, and my whole childhood, my dad, I'd go visit him and he'd just be wasted, or he'd try to come take me from my mom, and so it was just chaotic growing up, and that's where I started experimenting with drugs at his house, and at the age of 16, I was already dabbling a little bit on drugs, and then I found my dad dead because of an overdose at his house, and that was my tipping point where I went crazy into the world, and I just started doing drugs, crystal meth, you name it, I was doing it like crazy, and I didn't know how to deal with pain or with anything. I just knew how to get loaded and not feel anything and just be my mind was going 100 miles an hour. And I met a girl, a wonderful woman, and we had 3 kids, and I was still in my addiction, and she finally kicked me out, and that was my where I started going even crazier. I was robbing, stealing cars, in and out of jail, and in a 6-month span I picked up 20 felonies. And
wow.
Yeah, and then so they finally kept me in jail, and then during that time I was in jail, about 3 months into it, my baby's mom came to see me, and she, across the glass, she spoke truth to me. She told me, she goes, "You're doing to our kids what your dad did to you." And it was like she reached across that glass and socked me in the stomach. And I went back into the dorm in Fresno County Jail, 4th floor D-Pod, and I remember just broken, I didn't want to put my kids through what I went through. And I remember getting on my knees by my bunk, and I just, I pretended I was opening my drawer, and I got on my knees, and I surrendered my life to Jesus right there. I said, I give up. I can't do this. I've tried to get sober. I've tried to be a dad, and I can't do something with my life. And God, started to work on my life. And I got a Bible. I was running with the woods because I looked like a white guy. And so I was running with the woods in there. And then I found the book of Ephesians. I started reading it. I'm dyslexic and left-handed, so I'm not the greatest with the reading, And so I told the woods, I said, hey, we're going to have Bible studies. And I didn't know what a Bible study was, but I just knew that we're going to sit down and we're going to read Ephesians. And we'd read it over and over, about twice a week. And God just started working on my life. And from there I went to Salvation Army, and God was still working in my life. And then he started to work to restore mine and my wife's, she was my baby's mom then, our relationship. And so we went to counseling, and then I graduated the program. A bunch of other stuff went on too. I had an uncle come alongside of me right when I got out and started to disciple me. He was at my house 3 times a week, pouring into my life, but he struggled with mental illness, and he just came back from where he was just roaming the country around Sanger, just living out by the river and just kind of lost in his head. And so he'd have these really good ups, and then he'd have these really low lows. And so right when I got out of jail, out of the program, he was pouring into my life. He was doing good, and then he connected me with another guy that was pouring into me, discipling me. And then my uncle started to fade away, and he'd be sitting there, And I would go, I was like, Abel, what's wrong, brother? I need you, come to my house, let's do Bible studies. And he just started zoning out where you couldn't even talk to him. And on a Halloween, he disappeared. And he was gone for 9 months. And, we didn't know where he went or what. And so his sister, that they lived together in the country, she was losing the apartment. And so about 9 months, they're losing their house. I went to go to talk to her, and she was telling me, we're talking about where Abel might be. She thought he might have been in Mexico, or who, we didn't know. And I was gonna buy a truck from her in the back, and I go look at a truck, and I see the door open, and I peeked in there, and I was like, what the heck did I just see? And I opened the door, and I saw my uncle laying in the back of the truck, but I saw that he had bones, and he was like a skeleton, and he had a blanket over his waist. And I broke down. I started crying, and I had to call the family. I had to call the cops, and the coroner said that his body was been back there for over 6 months.
Wow.
And it was surrounded by cattle and sheep and goats, so you couldn't smell nothing. And so he was like my spiritual father, but I was already had a foundation. I already had Jesus in my life, and so it was a struggle. And then after that, all my buddies that I was like friends with in Salvation Army started going back into the world. Statistics say 1 out of 11 will stay sober that graduate the program, and 1 out of 4 graduate the program. And so I was 1 out of 11, and I was like, well, I was all jacked up. I'm missing a bunch of teeth. How could I stay sober and not everybody else, And it was because I had people commit themselves to me and to pour into my life and to disciple me, to continue to disciple me, and taught me how to become a disciple, to go and disciple other guys. And so I was like, man, well, that's the missing key, what the programs don't do. So God put that desire in my heart to run men homes and to open up a home. And so I started planning it out and kind of casting a vision how it's going to look. I had a meeting with Pastor Sean too about it. And then I got connected with some church planning stuff. And then I got connected with Set Free Church. And Set Free Church was already doing it in Yucaipa. And so they gave me the green light to launch my own Set Free. So I planted a Set Free Church about a little bit over 4.5 years ago. And we planted with $500 in the bank and a team of like 6 people. Not what an average church planner should do. We didn't have any money coming in, big supporting, donors. And then a year from that, we launched our church. We got a men's home going. And so we got a men's home, and we started getting people off the street, started detoxing them and discipling them and teaching them, training them up in the Word and showing them how to put Bible studies together, how to understand what Scripture says in the context, And so to right now, we have 4 homes. We have our own ranch in a town out by Corcoran, where we're detoxing people. We got about over 42 people in our program right now, men and women. We have a men's home and a women's home as well. And then, so we've been growing like crazy, dude. And my phone, I just got off the phone about like 20 minutes ago with some girl who's homeless in Fresno. We're going to go pick her up after this and get her off the street and send her to the ranch. They'll detox at our ranch for 2 months. And then after the ranch, we bring them back to our discipleship house where they'll commit to 6 months. And in that 6 months, they have a curriculum called 30 Days of Jesus, where 30 different encounters of Jesus, like Isaiah, Jesus foretold, and all kinds of different scriptures. And then they have to write on them, write the context of what was going on, and then expound and give a little bit of application at the end. And then so they all get trained up on how to put Bible studies together, how to give Bible studies, how to disciple somebody else. We do some other recovery curriculum as well too. And we've been growing, dude, in our little town, Sanger.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, and the ministry's called?
Set Free.
Set Free.
So we're Set Free Sanger.
Okay, you're Set Free Sanger.
You can check us out, setfreesanger.org. We have our own website. And
that's super awesome. So setfreesanger.org. And now if somebody's, like, say if they're homeless, they're not likely going to be able to check on the web. How do they reach out to you guys if they need
you just look up Set Free Sanger and let us know like that. Or else if somebody has a loved one that's homeless, you give me a picture and kind of tell me what area he might be in. We will go and find him and make that connection and start to build a relationship with him, and then try to get him into our vehicles. We have these vans that are all black wrap, and they say Set Free Search and Rescue. Oh. And if the family really wants it, we'll just throw them in our van too.
Just kind of like temporarily kidnap them.
yeah, and then throw them in the arms of Jesus and let Jesus do the transforming work.
That's super awesome. So what kind of like miracles have you seen through this process so far?
I've seen people and so the cops love us in our town. The fire department loves us because the people that the heroin addicts, the fentanyl users that were just over and over relapsing and ODing all the time. They get saved, and now we're training them up to. There's one guy who we're training up to be a pastor. His name is James, and so we'll take that homeless person on the bike, trying to break into cars. We'll transform him and allow the gospel to transform him, right? And who's to tell what God's going to use this guy for? To become a pastor, or to go plant a church, or to go run a men's home, or
you never know.
You never know.
God does amazing things. I get impressed because Teen Challenge, right? They're like the one over in Reedley. We I got to meet with that guy, and he has just like seen life transformation with people.
Yeah.
So I can imagine. Now, so Set Free Singer, I didn't even know you guys were there.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you said his name was James, right? He's had a major transformation.
Yeah.
Now you guys work with both men and women?
Men and women, yes.
Okay. Is it dominant? Do you see dominantly more men or more?
I got
women?
more men right now. Yeah, we got about I think I have 7 women right now in our program.
How many people can the facility maintain? Facilities.
So Set Free, we're never full.
You're never full?
No, I got a couch, I got a rug, like we're never full.
Yeah, you'll make room for one more no matter what.
Yeah, I've had bunk houses in our church, because we're a church first and foremost. Like that, number one, we are a church, and the number one ministry of our church is getting people off the street and detoxing and discipling them. So we have a theology, right? We have our what we stand on, and then this is our ministry of the church.
That's fantastic. So obviously you go to your church, whereas for churches where you go to, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So Clovis Hills, they're our supporting church.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
See, I tend to be biased. People like tease me because I have Clovis Hills pastors on my show most often, because it's where I go to church. It's where my pastor is, and Sean is not just my pastor, but he's also my good friend. And obviously you can see Scott was my friend too.
Yeah.
And I mean, these guys Scott was the first guest on Radical Christianity.
Okay, cool.
Actually. So he was the very first guest. He probably had all kinds of horrible things to say about me when I was gone. No. So you got any other really amazing, miraculous stories? I mean, you got to have a lot, considering the situation.
We got
Tell me a kidnapping story. You got any of those?
So there's one of the gas stations right next to us was a Punjabi guy, and he owns a couple gas stations, and his nephew was homeless for 10 years on 99 in Fresno. And he goes, go get him. And I told him, all right, I'll go get him. But if he doesn't want to come, do you want me to make him come? And he goes, oh yeah, I pay you whatever. You do it. You get him in. And then I go over there and I meet this guy, and homie's huge, big old guy. He could put his arm around me and lift me up. And I was like, I'm not throwing you in my car, dude. And so his name was Jack. And so we spent about maybe the 5th time of us going and talking to Jack and encouraging him and bringing him water and stuff. We got him to come with us. He would hear noises, and he would hear something called a network, and it was saying stuff to him in Punjabi, in their language. And he spent about maybe a year and a half with us, and he had a diesel truck driver's license. And so we helped him to get back into a school to get retrained up again. And now he still talks to himself a little bit, but he drives from Riverside to New York. Oh. And he got a job, and he's working again, and he'll show up to the church. And, he loves Jesus, and it's a blessing to see. Homie lived on a piece of cardboard, dude. A big old 350-pound Indian dude living on a piece of cardboard, dirty as heck, for 10 years out there in the streets. And now he lives in a diesel truck, driving, making money, doing good.
Yeah, but he knows Jesus.
He knows Jesus. And see, the number one thing, yeah.
That is the most important. I mean, because even if all you're doing is getting Jesus in people, that's all that really needs to happen. The rest of it will come on Jesus' time. This is a beautiful thing. What other things are there other things in your ministry, or Set Free just it?
So we got a mechanic shop. We opened up a mechanic shop called Wrench Kings Motorsports in Sanger, and that's we have some guys that work there, and I have a mechanic that oversees it, and that's to create jobs for the disciples as they or to train them up on how to turn wrench and work on motorcycles, because we ride motorcycles too. So we have a motorcycle ministry called Sinners Forgiven.
Okay.
And then we just opened up a inpatient residential detox facility in Fresno, and that's called Sequoia Recovery Center. You can look that up, getsoberfresno.com, and it'll lead you to our site.
So that sounds like you got stuff like post-program for people now too. So
Yeah.
like they get in, they get fixed, and then instead of just like now get out in the street, you have more stuff for them, right?
Uh-huh.
Lining them up. Are there other ministries that you work with, like paraministries, other than like Clovis Hills?
Not really. No. Some of the other ministries that like Teen Challenge, other ones like that, they look at us kind of like, because we got hoopty vans, and one of our vans we got to jump in through the back because the side doors don't work, but we're kind of ghetto, but we run like that. They can't go search for people on the side of the freeway and throw people in the van because they got too many rules they got to follow.
Right.
And so us doing what we do, we get to go under some lines and, kind of make our own road and do our own stuff,
That's amazing, though. It really is. There are some really. So how long has this been going on now?
So we are. The home's about 4.5 years or 3.5 years old.
Okay.
And the church is about 4.5 years old.
Okay, so you're still fairly young.
Yeah.
That's.
And then
awesome.
so we run a 3-phase program. The first phase is the ranch. Second phase is a second phase discipleship, and then after the second phase, we help them get a job. We put a couple of them through diesel truck driving school, and then we got them a job driving diesel truck, and now they live in our third phase home. We have another guy that does construction, and so then they live in our third phase home where they get to save up money, and then once they're in our third phase home, though, then we do charge a little bit of money. We call them for program fees. That kind of help pay for the rent,
Well, and you get them if they're making money.
Yeah.
You get
Right.
them kind of like thinking that hey, I'm going to have to start doing this life thing for real.
Yeah.
And get them in the habit of having money and holding it and saving it and spending it. That's actually a really good thing, Is there anything else that you can share that's like awesome? Another miracle story? Something? Obviously, you got to have female directors too if you got female people, right?
Yeah, I got female directors. We've also taken in, we've had minors. I've had parents bring in their minors with us, and they sign over guardianship to us, and then we'll take the kids and we raise them up. Not like little kids, but like the youngest we had was a 13-year-old boy, and so we had him for a little bit. We've had 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds, and we're just trying to help people so they don't follow that route, dude. This ministry is a tough ministry. It's hard, man, because I've already lost 2 guys that have been through our program that may have left because of girls or because of some reason, and then one of them relapsed, and that was his last relapse, So I've already lost 2 guys, and then I got a call last night from a mom who was just like, something was bad, and her son, they found him in the bottom of a cliff in his truck, and he got into a wreck, and he may be paralyzed from they don't know yet, but it's going to either be full body paralyzed or maybe just in a wheelchair the rest of his life.
Wow. That's
so and then my kids, because my family knows all our disciples because they come to the house and they're at the church, and then you get to know them and you love them. And they're part of your life. And then when someone leaves or relapses, it hurts. It hurts a lot. And then so we gotta to stay funded because we don't have like crazy money coming in, so we got to do work blessings. So we just got done working the Fresno Fair. We're going to go work NASCAR in Arizona in November, and then we're going to work the Formula One race in Vegas. So the disciples go out and work. I got a crew out in San Jose right now working. They went out this morning.
So what do they do when they're working?
We do concession stands. We pick up trash. We do all kinds of different stuff. We need money to come in because the amount of stuff we have
it's
going.
Like, does somebody coordinate these jobs ahead of time?
I do that.
Okay, that's awesome.
So yeah, when people say that they're real busy, I'd say, well, come and chill with me I got to find the jobs. I got to find places for them to stay when they're working. I got to get jobs, like, you know what I mean? Like,
and
then we got all these homes, and then I got washers breaking down, refrigerators breaking down, and then we got our ranch. And so our ranch is like in a little ghetto town. A church was given to us, and so we converted the fellowship hall into a bunkhouse. So I got bunks in there, and there's no water heater because the gas lines are all messed up. So we're redoing some stuff. We've been trying to get a mobile shower unit, and but I had the guys taking showers with a water hose, and so I finally almost had the shower all the way built right now. So we had to rip a toilet out, frame in a shower around that toilet, and so we got a little tankless water heater that we're mounting to the wall, and so we're finally gonna get some warm showers after a couple months of being open.
That's awesome. You know what, man? What you're doing is serious kingdom work, and and I am grateful for the opportunity to meet you.
Yeah, it's been a blessing, man.
Now that I know you're in Sanger, man.
Yeah, come visit us.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to come check that out. Maybe we'll do an on location thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you can, maybe you can make some more because we have a studio in downtown Fresno that you can come in and do an in-town interview also. And
I'll be at
updates.
Clovis Hills on the 29th.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's 29th this month. This Sunday.
Next Sunday.
Actually,
yeah.
I'll be there probably Sunday morning. But
yeah, I'll be there Sunday morning.
Yeah. So cool. Fantastic. Great meeting you, Jacob.
Good
God
meeting
bless
you too, man. Thank you.
And you know what? What we like to say on our show is that I can tell that you're rad for Christ and you're fired up for Jesus, and we love to see that.
Amen. Praise God, dude. He's awesome, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Housekeeping time. This is the time of the show that I ask you, the viewer, to reach into your heart and possibly your wallet and help God and partner with God to help support this show. This is always a challenge for me. It is not natural for me to ask people for money. I'm more of a giver than a taker. So it's really difficult for me. So please bear with me as I stumble all over myself trying to bring this to your attention. If you have $5, $10, $15, $20, $100, whatever it is God puts on your heart to share with us, that would be a great help for us. And it's really easy to do. You just go to radforchrist.com. That's RAD, the number 4, Christ.com, and there's a donate link up on the top where the navigation is. Just click that link. It'll take you to the Mr. E Christian Media donation page, and that has a drop-down with all the projects from Mr. E Christian Media. Now, if you just want to support the overall nonprofit, Mr. E Christian Media, it's a media ministry. That would be great. You just leave it on general. But if you have a specific project that you want to donate to, say like Radical Christianity, you just select it from the drop-down menu, and then all the funds that you give will go directly to this show. And that would be a real good blessing for us. It'd be a blessing for you. It'd be a blessing for the kingdom of God. And I think that it would be amazing. They say God loves a cheerful giver. It's something that we say at our church all the time. And I think that if you are really feeling that God's tugging on you, it's not a big deal. And if you don't have the money, that's not a big deal either. If you can't share, if you can't bring it out, that's not a problem. But you could share on social media. Tell a friend, email the show, possibly make your mother sit down and watch it with you. I don't know. Whatever it is that you can do to bring more attention to the show so that more people can get the message of Jesus Christ and how awesome He is and what He does in people's lives and what He's doing in the world around us. And that's basically it for now. And I want to tell you, you're awesome, and on with the show.
Jonathan, welcome to Radical Christianity. It is great to have you here. Basically, the way we do things here is basically introduce yourself, share your testimony, and we talk about how that leads into your ministry. So,
okay, well, again, my name is Jonathan Sakovich, as you've already said, but I am a senior pastor over at First Baptist Church of Walnut Valley. I don't look very senior. I am 38 years old, but I've been there since 2018.
Okay, and now where's Walnut Valley? That's not a commonly known location.
Yeah, I didn't even know the church existed until I started applying. But yes, the Walnut Valley is over in the Brea, Orange County, Diamond Bar area.
Okay, so Diamond Bar. Okay, so I know what Brea is. I actually I used to live in Hollywood, so I spent some time, getting lost in Brea before. So I know. It's like in the middle of nowhere.
It's a nice place to get lost in. It's not too bad.
Actually, considering how LA normally
Yes.
is, actually,
Yes.
this was kind of nice. So that's pretty cool. So how did you meet Jesus?
So I am of the one that I don't have a big traumatic conversion story. I wasn't on the streets living in a box and then, a guy came up and gave me the gospel. I was raised up in a Christian home. So I have been familiar with the scriptures since a young age, kind of reminiscent of Timothy in the scriptures. In 2 Timothy 3:15, where Paul says, you have been familiar with the sacred writings from, when you were younger. So I have been just born and raised into the Christian faith. And a lot of, I know in the evangelical world, that's typically not the standard testimony. But for me and other people out there, I've had a lot of opportunities where my faith has been tested to see if I am a believer, right? Times where I could turn my back and walk away. Mm-hmm. So growing up, I have always had this passion and just knew that Christ was real, that God loved me. Because my grandparents and my parents just hammered in Christianity into me. More precisely, my grandparents. My parents growing up, being there in the 90s and 80s, they liked to go from church to church because if a church said something they didn't agree with, they just knew it was valuable. It was just hard to figure out where you wanted to go, or at least for them. And for me, I always wanted to go to the adult Bible studies, or when I would call them, I want to go to the adult Bible studies and not the kids one, because I always had this passion to know Christ. I didn't really care about the games. I'm not saying it was bad, any of that stuff, but I just had such a draw to know this, my Christ, that my grandmother and grandfather, my parents always spoke about. So growing up, I was just always adamant about getting whatever materials I could. As a kid, Bible books, and for little children. And throughout high school, some of my best friends became Christians because of me, because I would just preach the gospel to people. Granted, what little I knew. But growing up, I was just so adamant about being part of Christian Bible studies within school, starting them, talking about Jesus. And some of the biggest trials that I hit was when I went into college. I was a philosophy major over at Cal State Fullerton. And my goodness gracious, being a Christian in that department was brutal. I've had teachers stand up and tell me that they're God and I should worship them, trying to intimidate me to get out of the class. I've had whole classrooms yell at me, say, get out of here. And I wasn't trying to be a jerk or anything. It's just they knew that I was a Christian. I would try to go off and eat my lunch by myself. And I would have philosophy students just follow me and flock and sit down and say, let's debate about God's existence. Tons of times where we could have, I could have walked away and said, no, you know what, I'm out. But God preserved me. I say this lightly, my father...
I want you to elaborate on that.
Sure.
Because if I was in a situation where philosophy students were hoarding me to talk about the reality of God, yeah. That would be like sugar to me. It's like, yes! So what did you do with that?
So every moment that I had an opportunity to debate about God's existence, to debate why I trusted the Bible, why I believe in this Jesus, I took it and I patiently explained my beliefs, why I believed it, why I believed in objective truth, why I believed we could trust the Bible. They would point out things. Well, one of the famous passages that they would love to go to is like at the end of Mark, of whether or not that part of the Bible is actually in there or not. It's somewhat debated about.
Mark chapter 18.
Yeah, right at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And they always love to go to that and be like, well, it says right there, it may not even be in the text. And I'm like, exactly. Because we can know actually what's in the text. So, you had the little like quibits Like, we know what the real stuff is, and there's a potential that this may be fake. Whether or not it is, I'm not here going to comment. But the point is we know what's legit and what maybe we have some questions on. But even then, so it was a great opportunity to present the gospel message to people. It also was kind of sad because, so at the end of the year, not all my teachers were intense. Some of them were legit, and like, hey guys, we should leave the guy alone. But at the end of the year, we went to go, one of the teachers went to go celebrate at their house. They invited all the college students and, to celebrate this whole thing. And she started asking the questions of like, so what was the toughest time in college? And I was like, the toughest time with me is just being a Christian. Like I just got, obliterated like constantly for my beliefs. Right? And I'm saying this in front of other guys, and other guys are laughing like, and then these other two guys stand up and they're like, yeah, Jonathan got every classroom, everywhere you go, this guy, he was getting brutalized. He was a Christian, and man, we're Christians ourselves, and man, it was tough seeing that happen. And the teacher looked at him and said, "You're Christians?" I had no idea. And I was like, oh, dang. I don't know if that's a good thing. The guys were quiet during that whole time. But anyways, it was just, it was just an interesting aspect of like, not saying that they did anything wrong, but, it would be nice for Christians to be a little bit more outspoken with their faith, not in a mean way, but in a graceful way, right? Grace and truth, not just the truth, but with grace.
Yeah, I tend to give people a little bit more slack. A little bit like I understand everybody's got their stage, and as in my mind, as long as someone has a true love for Jesus and they're studying and pursuing Jesus will work on them and put them where they need to be.
I agree.
So if they're working mostly fire insurance, it's like okay, they're getting into heaven, but
it'd be nice for help. I mean, I'm like, they're swimming. I'm like, help! Like, it would be nice to know, because I didn't even realize they were Christians. I was like, right. Oh shoot! Well, where were you? I would love to have some help.
Yeah. So no, that totally right. I mean, yeah. No, I agree. So college was like that. What else is? It's like what happened? Did anything else happen in college? Was anything after?
Well, so once I graduated college, well, I mean, in college, man, there's so much. I had teachers change my whole grade because they were upset with me, and I know they changed my grade because everyone in the class used my study guide to do this particular test. So they all had my answers, and yet somehow I got the lowest grade out of all of them. And like, and I knew the teacher was anti, very, very much didn't like it, but whatever, I just moved on. There was one time in college where this one particular teacher got so intense with us, or with me, and then I had another friend at that time. This is at a different class. That someone got offended by them on a total different aspect. Because a guy got real political about the military and stuff like that, and she had a brother or sister, I can't remember, but someone in the military went out and complained about him, and then brought us up that, hey, by the way, he also is attacking Christians, and and then we got pulled into the office. And so the dean was talking to us like, hey, I heard this happen with her. I heard this happen with you guys. This guy was totally against your religion and mocking you in front of the whole class. And my buddy and I had a moment right there, and this guy totally was just, the teacher was such a jerk to us. We had a moment to where we could have ruined him, but we chose grace and said, you know what though, but we didn't take offense. Yeah, he's not that bad, and it wasn't that big of a deal. We're glad to be in there. And it saved that guy's job. And then the teacher pulled us in a couple days later once he found out what happened, and he pulled me and my buddy in, and he said, hey, thank you so much for doing that. That shows me you guys are real Christians. I'm sorry that I ever put you guys in that situation. Thank you so much for defending me. And it was an opportunity for grace rather than law.
No, and see now that I feel like more people are reached through grace than through strictness or through hypocrisy. You know what I mean? It's and when I say hypocrisy, I mean, what I'm talking about, the people they pretend to be high and mighty, and and then later on they're doing whatever in secret. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right.
I mean, some of that's. I mean, we could go down the extremes, and some of the stuff that's gone on just with the famous names, like Jimmy Swaggart.
Jiminy Crickets. Okay.
But no, but the truth of the matter is that what you went through in college is something a lot of people go through. So like a lot of my audience can relate to that. You know what I mean? Believe it or not, a lot of the audience are not Christians. A lot of people watch this show looking for a reason to attack it, and we love you anyway. So,
yes.
I get a lot of people contacting about saying that they claim to be atheists and a whole lot of other things, and I find all kinds of I'm a clown by nature, so I find humor in everything.
That's great.
Yeah, and some people call me real morbid because I'll find humor in just like death. I'll be like, it's like, that was really funny. Like, how is that funny? Why are you laughing? And I'll like point out like some kind of crazy angle.
Yeah.
And because I don't take life too serious.
Amen.
But I do take Jesus serious, and I take salvation serious, and I think that's important. And I think that you probably may have touched a nerve with that teacher, that who knows where that went.
Amen. I don't know, but it was a big opportunity and I fully agree with you. I don't think, just within my own pastoral ministry, and as I get older, granted I'm only 38, but as I get older, I do believe that the law doesn't change people. It exposes, but it doesn't change. It's the grace, it's the gospel that melts hearts, that encourages and uplifts. And I think that, as what you stated, I think that really makes a difference. You remember that. Everyone expects judgment. Everyone expects the wrath for the wrongs. And whatever be the case, no one expects the grace of the undeserved favor and friendship that's offered. And essentially, this guy, we offered a friendship, and then he was great for us for the rest of the semester. It was great. He was a nice guy. Because it was that grace moment that changed him. I guess after that, I lost contact, and I don't know what happened after that. But yeah, college was such an interesting time.
Yeah. So what was in between college and the current pastoral position?
Well, then after college, I went to it was called Golden Gate, but now it's called Gateway Seminary. And through that time, then I just became involved with ministry. So being a pastoral intern, over youth ministry, kids ministry, deacons, involved with the deacon ministry, involved with hospitality. And I just went from church to church, that God was moving me in different places to enhance me, to kind of get a full picture of what ministry was like in preparation for a senior pastorate. One thing that hit during that time, which my father, now I believe my father has always been a Christian, but I don't, sometimes doctrine isn't talked a lot in churches. And once I started talking about his brother showed up, and when I talked about the Trinity, right, and I believe, one God, three persons, not three gods, one person. Once we started, and I was like, oh yeah, and Jesus was, truly God and truly man, and yet part of the Trinity. And for some odd reason, in that moment, it was like Satan espoused something where my uncle said, no, that's not the way Jesus is, and got in this whole argument about this, what the Trinity was, and I was kind of floored. I was like, wait a minute, I thought this was like standard stuff. And then my father became so infuriated that I believed in a Trinity. But by the way, right now that this has changed, so now he believes in the Trinity. But at that time, totally came up, got angry, pushed me. I fell down to the ground. He says, I can't love you anymore. This is it. I'm out. This is when I'm a little bit older. And right out of college, and pushed me to the ground and said, I can't love you anymore. And I was like, I just lost my dad over my faith. And that was such a traumatic time. And really I had a choice, like here, and I had to still live in his home. And I tried to talk with him. It wouldn't work. Like, he shut me down. Like, I was out of his life, like as if I became a non-believer or became some heretic. And it was over a misconception of what the Trinity was. And that was brutal, living during that time in my dad's home. And he would not speak to me, let alone look at me. And I would try to say, hey, Dad, but this is, these are books that you've had, and like, you grew up in this particular denomination, and they believe in this. And he would not talk with me. And I had a moment there where I could have been very angry with him, but again, I chose grace and to still love him and be kind and just, and it's like, even though he said he can't love me anymore, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to love him. And through many years, and him knowing that I'm going into the pastorate and going to all, like, going this way, God restored that relationship to allow him to realize that it was a whole misconception. And he said, I love you, son. And I said, well, I love you too, Dad. And now he's a member of my church.
I always wondered about people that got confused on the Trinity like that, because like even the Torah talks about God in 3 different forms.
Yes, it does.
So it's like, to me, it's like, we're talking about, if you're, Judeo-Christian, anything, the Trinity should be a norm. That's why I always got confused when people were like,
how can that be, right? I mean,
right.
In Genesis, he said, let us make man in our image. And then in Genesis 1924, when Sodom and Gomorrah is burned, it says, Yahweh rained fire and brimstone from Yahweh. Like, I mean, and then in Amos, was it 4:11? It says, I will destroy you, and this is God speaking, like God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, declares the Lord. Well, how does that make sense unless he's a plurality, 1 and 3, but 3 and 1? Like, how, it doesn't make sense if he's singular.
Right.
That, or he's trying to talk like Yoda. I don't know. Like, it's a strange.
Yeah.
But and that's why, when I was older, it just blew me away when my father just like literally tore a relationship apart over that. But now he's in, and relationships are restored, and it's great. But even there, it shows that God can mend things that were big pride moments.
So how does it feel to have your dad at your church? Now that's got to be interesting, because I mean, usually it's kind of hard for fathers to take direction from their son. You know what I mean? Having your son be your senior pastor. Is it kind of like, well, you're kind of like my step-senior pastor.
Yeah, it was strange initially, but as time has grown, that, he has come to understand, as with me, that we're both under the submission of the Word. And he has... so it actually has been good. I've seen him grow because of it, and he's paying more attention to what I say, and trying to increase his own reading. Like, he's reading the Bible on his own. Like, I think being part of the church and having his son as a pastor has kept an accountability on him. Because before, like I said, we would go to church, and granted, he's a great man. He used to work for Sparklets, but he couldn't. So Sunday mornings, they used to have long hours back in the day, and Sunday mornings were sometimes hard for him to go to church because he was just so exhausted. The water bottles used to be out of glass and walking upstairs. But anyways, but this has been him the most consistent he's ever been in church with me, and I've just seen him grow when it comes to his own being gracious and loving and kind and just a changed person. Like, where before he would freak out about the world, but now he says, but God's got it in control. Like, and God's going to take care of it, and God's going to take you. And now I see him where he's never done this before. He's always said God's important, but now he says, God's going to take care of you. His hand is upon you. And like, I didn't have that growing up. I just knew God was there. Listen to God. But now there's this gracious aspect that, like, he said, God's hand's upon you. He's going to take care of this, John. Like, it's a different support. That it's a sweetness that's there. I guess here's the hardest part, though. I can't tell all the stories growing up without embarrassing him in front of everyone, because everyone knows him. You know what I mean? So I can't, like most pastors be like, well, you know, and I was growing up and my dad did this, and I can't give all those stories because I have to look out for him. Like, he's part of it, you know, as with my mother.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that I can understand that fully. I mean, I'm sure that, you know, you could, you know, say, Dad, can you be gracious about this?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're out of time.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being on Radical Christianity. It is great to meet you, Jonathan.
Great. Well, thanks for
I
having me.
hope that sometime I can come out and check out your church when I'm out there. So
Would love it.
yeah. All right. Thank you very much. And what we say here is, you know, with Radical Christianity, that you are definitely rad for Christ and you are fired up for Jesus, and we love to see that.
Amen. Thank you for that.
Amen. God bless you.
God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another episode of Radical Christianity. We are so pleased that you took the time to join us today. I really hope that you got something great out of this episode. These guests are really, really, really amazing guys, and they had a lot to share. So what I would like to do now is I'd like to address that one person who's watching this show right now, this very moment, who is feeling Jesus tug on their heart. This is an important part of the whole process for us. You know, it's not a big deal if you are confused about about whether or not you want to accept Jesus and even what that means. I mean, the answer to that is fairly simple. Jesus loves you, and he wants to help you be the best person that you can be. So just tell him, say, Jesus, I want you in my life. I believe in you. I believe that God brought you to earth to die for our sins. I am a sinner and I need you. Please come into my life and help me be the person that you've designed me to be. And if you say something like that, whether you say it in your mind, in your heart, you know what I mean? It's pretty much a done deal, right? It says in Romans that if you declare with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, and in your heart you believe that God rose him from the dead, you will be saved. So that is a beautiful thing, right? And if you said that prayer today, I want to welcome you to the family of God. And I got a gift for you, and I want to be able to give you a Bible. So what I need you to do is just go to our website, radforchrist.com. That's R-A-D, the number 4, CHRIST.com. And on there, you'll see a button that says Got Saved. It's actually a big picture, and it's got Saved underneath it. Click on that. Go to the Got Saved form. Provide that information so that I can send you a Bible. And I would love to be able to do that. And anybody watching this, if you need a Bible, please reach out to us and tell us. You can use that form and just say, I need a Bible. And I will send you a Bible, because it is important that everybody has the Word of God who needs it and wants it. Also on that website, on radforchrist.com, you will find another form that says Ask a Question, another one that says Prayer Requests. So if you have a question for us, whether it be about the show, about the Bible, about God, about wars in the world, anything that's on your mind, on your heart that you have a question for. If you need help with your math homework, I mean, that's kind of a misuse of the thing, but we'll try and help. All right, if you need help finding a church, all those things. And if you have a prayer request, something going on in your life or somebody that you care about, and you would like us to pray for them, there's forms for that, so that we can get that information from you, and we can do that. Also, you can reach out on us to social media. We'd love to hear from you in our messages and the DMs and that kind of stuff. So that is all available to you. We are here to serve. And this part is super important. All right? You just remember this over anything else. And that is, Jesus Christ loves you. So do I. Thank you for watching Radical Christianity. We'll see you next week.
And I'm not giving up, giving up, no, not me. Even if nobody else believes, I'm not going down that easily. So don't give up on me.
It's a mystery.
If you can trust, you can trust me. If you feel you'll fall, hold on tightly. If you're down on love and you feel the storm clouds come, just remember I will keep you close to my love. The rain may fall and the sun it sometimes shines, and though you feel you're lost, I won't leave you behind. We will keep you safe beneath the shadow of my wings, my love. I will keep you close to me, like the sand beneath the waves. I am here for you. Oh, like the birds that fly away, that I will never do. Just know that I am here to stay, like the flowers need the rain, my love. No, I will never change. I will dry your eyes with my palm on your cheek, and you can have no fear, my dear, knowing you are here with me. You will hear my voice like the wind beside your ear, my love. You will never shed a tear, my love. I will always be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, this song is called Sanctuary.
Well, I can tell you what I've seen so far. Would you listen to me when I say those things? Kill you to
side.